What the heck is SWOT analysis? Hey everyone, as the quarter comes to an end, it's time to figure out what the heck Q4 goals should be. And of course, part of setting your goals for the coming quarter is taking a look back and seeing what worked and what didn't. Although this year has proven to be quite unpredictable. So it's not like this has been the best year to use as an example of how to set goals or project plan or project your cash flows for that matter, unfortunately. So we're going to dive into my screen here. I'm going to walk you through our SWOT analysis and show you how we go from SWOT analysis all the way down to an actual project plan for the coming quarter. But don't worry, we're not going to get super in-depth and jump into Gantt charts and time tracking and all that fun stuff. I'll leave that for another vlog here. We're just going to go over the SWOT analysis, how I apply it to individual parts of our business, and then of course setting our goals and creating our initial project plan. So starting at a 30,000 foot view, what the heck is SWOT analysis? Let's just jump in and go with the first example so you can see exactly what it is. So we have this nice little table here. We look at our strengths, we look at our weaknesses, opportunities and threats. Now, strengths and weaknesses are internal, opportunities and threats are external, right? So the very first thing I'm gonna do is look at our management process. I like doing this for each part of our business. You can do this for your business as a whole, or you can do it for individual components like I've done here. Don't worry, I'm not gonna go through every single one. I only have 2 examples for you. I think it's gonna be illustrative enough. So first, for our strengths, when it comes to our team management process, so this is hiring, project management, onboarding, and offboarding. So jumping in here for our strengths, we have clear project structure, positive company culture, well, at least I think it's pretty positive, nobody seems to be upset, and then growth paths. And growth paths I've talked about in previous vlogs, but essentially all it is a document that we have for each one of our full-time team members where we eliminate the awkward conversation of how do I grow with the company, or how do I actually get a raise, or what do I need to do in order to get a raise. So I think we're really, really good when it comes to having clear project structures and then making sure that our team members actually feel valued and they have a clear path to actually make more with us eventually. So then going into weaknesses, again, this is all internal. Our project tracking and bookkeeping need a huge upgrade as we go and get more clients. So number one, our project tracking done with Google Sheets does not have the ability to tag via clients. So we have to manually go through and figure out, okay, you were working on an ads account, but which client was it for? Was it for internal? And then our bookkeeping and our project tracking is currently completely separate. So I have to export stuff from Wave Accounting, which is what we use, and then compare it to what's going on in Google Sheets. Obviously, that's a lot of manual labor that we should get over. Then for our weaknesses, no source for hiring. Upwork has suspended my account indefinitely, and that has nothing to do with what we've actually done on the platform. They're just not too happy with some of the things I've said on this YouTube channel. So downside of just openly voicing your opinions or making tutorials. There'll be a future vlog on that. So then for the next 2 weaknesses, we have low interaction between team members and communication with clients. This is actually something that I dealt with when I worked at the last job I had at a marketing agency, where because we have such a clear project structure, there's not a lot of interaction between different team members because everyone knows exactly what they should be doing. So on the one hand, that's good, but on the other hand, we need to figure out how do we actually, and this goes into opportunities, but how do we actually make sure that we empower team members so there's a lot more team member to team member communication as opposed to myself or Jesse, my business partner, being the middle person. So that actually leads us into opportunities here. So I am talking fast because I want to get through this and I don't want you to get super bored with all the details of my business, but hopefully this is helpful to you. You can always comment below if you want a deeper dive on anything or if you have any questions about what I'm sharing. So for opportunities, train and empower, like we just talked about, remove us as founders from more of the day-to-day activities, and then eventually hire a project manager. We're about 10 people right now. So I think within the next 5 hires, one of them needs to be a project manager because I'm probably just going to pull my hair out. I'm already losing enough hair naturally. I don't want to start pulling it out because of project management. So threats, these are all the external stuff. Well, threats, we lose lots of team members in the same month. This is something that happened at the beginning of the year where we actually lost someone who, out of the blue, I really did not think they were going to leave. And that was something where we actually wound up not having any of certain projects completed for months while we scrambled to try and find another person. Luckily, everything's been fixed, but that really caught us off guard. So having someone leave, it's one of those things when you're a small team, you don't have the budget to just hire people shield in case someone leaves. But at the same time, you want to figure out how do you mitigate the risk of someone leaving and then your business just falling apart, right? So, hitting screens here. So then we have for threats, external legal action. I mean, people suing you is pretty much just always going to be a threat. So that's kind of a cop-out, but there you go. It's always going to be a threat, so you should have it there. And of course, if one of us gets sick because we are so involved in the business and we're still working in the business, we haven't necessarily upgraded to the on the business perspective of being founders, there is a threat that if one of us gets sick, things stops. Like, for example, this channel. If I get sick or I don't have a voice, obviously there's no videos made, right? So let's go ahead and scroll down here to our content creation system, essentially posting videos to YouTube. So we just talked about our management. So now let's go into YouTube here. Again, comment below, hit that like button. If you're still watching, you're getting some value out of this. So let's go into strengths. So strengths, we're about 78K subs. We're growing and the channel revenue is somewhat steady, right? And then for strengths, I think we do a really good job with click-by-click marketing tutorials. I think our graphics are really good in our niche, right? It's not like we're competing against animators here, but in terms of the graphics we make versus some of the other marketing channels here on YouTube, I think we do a really good job. And our production process is incredibly streamlined. It's a nice, well-oiled machine. I can sit down, record, and then the rest of the team can handle pretty much everything else. Like, they just knock it out of the park. So what are our weaknesses for creating YouTube content? Well, turning viewers into customers, I've obviously done a really, really bad job of this. There's hardly any calls to action, and we get comments all the time like, what the heck do you sell? And so there's this balance, obviously, of you've watched other marketing channels and you know exactly what they sell because they pitch you every single video, right? Whereas opposed to here, I hardly pitch anything. So we're looking for a good balance where we can say, hey, this is what our services are, just in case you're interested, but not so much so that it feels like we're just pitching you every other video. So that's something that I'm looking to fix in 2021. Then obviously right now I'm doing all of the content writing. So we need to fix that. I'm getting burned out doing all the content writing. It's really hard to scale if you're doing every single creative piece. Our thumbnails, you probably noticed our thumbnails haven't been updated in almost a year and a half now. So definitely need to be fixed. Non-click-by-click videos. I'm terrible when it comes to things that aren't when it comes to creating videos that aren't click-by-click tutorials and are a little more suggested, anecdotal, kind of like these vlogs where I'm just pulling something out and saying, oh, you know, here's what I did, right? Whereas most of their videos are like Google Analytics or YouTube ads or Google ads, and I just need to figure out how to pull myself out of those. For example, our productivity-centered videos, they don't do very well. I like talking about time blocking. I guess a week ago, we had a video on how hard you can work in ideal work hours. I really like making those videos, especially when it comes to productivity, but YouTube keeps telling me that I suck at it. So I definitely have to get better at it. And for a weakness, this is always going to be a weakness for creating any type of content for YouTube. We only have one presenter for this channel. So unless we run off and make a bunch of other channels or I find a clone of myself, I'm pretty much always going to have that weakness. So for opportunities here for growing this particular channel, it's probably going to apply if you have a channel as well. Improve video ranking, fix up the thumbnails, try different content types, and upgrade the recording setup. Obviously, what you're looking at right now is pretty much just a blank wall and a curtain because there's so much light that you can't see that the curtain's blocking. There are some things I definitely need to upgrade here, including the audio quality because there's a lot of echo. So for threats, obviously large channels go after the same keywords and then they just crush us in search. Copycats, people are always going to be copying, right? There are entire channels that are pretty much dedicated to copying other people's content, right? And then for threats in terms of YouTube, well, they could pull external links, they could pull monetization, or they could just shut us down for no reason, right? They've shut down a lot of channels for a lot of different reasons. And if you see what's happening on Facebook with some links are not even allowed to be shared anymore, it's not too far-fetched to think that YouTube would start running around and saying, you know what, unless you're linking to one of our approved sites, you don't get to link at all. So that is definitely a threat I think is coming. So what we do is we go through this for each part of our business. So I would go through and do this for our sales funnels, for our products, for our services. And if we were posting to other platforms like a blog, Pinterest, Facebook, or Instagram, then I would go ahead and do this analysis as well. So again, go ahead and let me know in the comment section if you have any questions. I tried to go through that as quickly as possible, but looking at the camera time, it still took me a long time. So then what I do is we go through and we make a summary saying, okay, of everything in our business, of all the systems, what's our biggest strength? What's our biggest weakness, our best opportunity, and our greatest threat? Now for 3 of these, it actually comes from stuff that I should not be sharing publicly, so I'm just gonna go ahead and leave them at XY. But for our biggest weakness, it's definitely the fact that a lot of the processes still rely on myself and Jesse, and we really need to work on pulling ourselves out of that. Even if it's just us giving approval to something, we need to figure out how we can pull ourselves out of those processes. So once we have that, once we have all of these, we look at the current projects we're working on, and then we look at what projects are we proposing based upon either taking advantages of opportunities, mitigating weaknesses, or threats, right? So here's a small sample of the proposed project. So you're gonna have a lot here. So for example, for team, we recognize that one of our weaknesses right now is we can't tag by client. So what's a proposed project? Well, real-time project tracking that connects to our books and allows us to track clients. So for content, we recognize there's some weaknesses in the production of our content. So a project we could undertake is figuring out how to address those weaknesses. And then for our product and sales funnel, they came down to looking at our opportunities and our threats and saying, hey, of everything that we could start offering or the next product or service that we could sell, which one do we think presents the best opportunity? And here, you're going to have to balance short-term benefits with long-term results. So one of the things you want to look at when you're looking at your projects and deciding which one to do, you're going to have projects that aren't going to pay off for months, right? And then you're going to have projects that aren't going to pay off as big, but you can get a payoff immediately. And so what you want to do in that situation is look at your threats. And what you want to do is look at your list of threats and then look at your projects and say, if I take on this long-term project, will this long-term project be able to become to fruition and actually be successful before this threat becomes really, really bad, right? And so I'm just using this as an example, but obviously you can also just look at your weaknesses, right? There might be a weakness inside of your business and you say, yeah, I should fix that, but I could probably, let it go another week or two, right? It's the difference between a faucet that's dripping and a broken pipe, right? The broken pipe, that's a huge threat. You need to fix that now. But if the sink's just leaking, if the seat's just leaking, oh no. If the sink is just leaking, oh, she sells seashells by the seashore, right? So if it's just a small leak, well, you can probably get away for a month or two before you have to hire the plumber, right? So that's what you want to keep in mind in balancing what, now I can't say anything, right? In balancing what you're going to do now and focus on now and what you're going to ignore from your threats and weaknesses. So that's where we came up with our proposed projects. And now comes the absolute hardest part, choosing one for each quadrant. Obviously, you can organize your business different. I like going by team, which is internal, content, which is content creation, like for YouTube, your blog, or your social profiles, product, or your one product or service, or your multiple products or services. Sorry, I just gave it away. Product or service, and then of course your sales process, right? Your sales funnel. So if we scroll down here, you can see that we choose one for each quadrant. I used to say that we chose 2 for each quadrant, and we did that when our projects were very small. This quarter, all of these projects are massive. Going through and fixing our project tracking is a massive undertaking. There's a lot of things that need to be put into place. So it's going to take both of us, and we're going to have a team member help us. So here are our goals. We have an internal development process to fix up our project tracking. Then we have a refine where we're actually going to go through and really take a deep dive into how we create content and the quality of our content and identify every place where we can take it up a notch or two. Then for our product, we're going to offer a new service, and the sales funnel is going to be selling that new service. You'll see ads for that service later, so we'll just let that be a little bit of a surprise. So once we have these 4 big goals, then we move on to the final part. If you're still with me, hit that like button. You are an absolute champion because you're getting exactly, this is like a download of how I think, right? So then we go ahead and take it a step further and we start looking at the 20,000 foot view. So everything was 30,000 feet and now we're at 20,000 feet. So we're not into Gantt charts and Basecamp or whatever, Asana, Trello, whatever you're using yet, but we're at 20,000 feet. And so we look at it and we say, okay, based upon our big goals for each one of these quadrants, what what specific projects do we need? So as an example here, when we're looking at YouTube, we are going to refine. Also, I'll link up in the cards in the description, cards in the description to a video that actually takes a deep dive on the different, what refine and explore and sustain mean. But essentially refine is improving a process, explore is going something new, and sustain is just keeping it the way it is. And surge, which is not on here, is ramping up or scaling. So here we're going to refine. So that means we're going to look at our process and we are going to make it as good as possible and up the quality as much as possible. And in order to do that, unfortunately, we're going to have to pause content for the next quarter in order for myself and the team to have time to do that. So I'm still going to do my best to have vlogs every other week, but in terms of actual content videos, for the first time, we're going to purposely pause so we can actually improve and prepare for next year. We also got hit pretty hard with some rankings, and so there's just some things that we need to make sure that we refine and make sure that when we come back, we are much stronger and it's worth taking that break. So when we look at refine, we say, okay, great. Who needs to be trained or what new processes need to be developed in order to improve what we have? So that's where training comes in. So we say, okay, well, based upon this, these people need to be trained. These are codes for people, obviously. I'm not going to just blatantly give away people's personal information. So based upon refining, we're going to have to train people on these particular things. Someone's going to need to learn how to write hooks and script outlines and help with the screen captures for the videos in order for us to take it to the next level. So these are just general things of, hey, I think this person needs to be trained here, or hey, I think this person needs to be trained over there. You don't have to figure out the specifics right now. You're just at 20,000 feet saying, I think we should go this direction. I think we should go that direction in order to achieve the big goal, which is, in this particular instance, improve the content. Now, also underneath content, you'll see we have a blog and we have Pinterest, and it's just sustain. We're just going to leave it the same and just see how it works. For the blog, we're going to keep making posts. We've done about 30 over the previous quarter, but Google doesn't seem to care. So hopefully by the end of the quarter, we actually start seeing some SEO results. Otherwise, we just have to cut it and move on to something else, right? That's sometimes how it goes. So then moving down, I'm gonna go a little slower because if you're still here, that probably means you actually care. So I won't talk as fast. So for the sales funnel here, we have 3 different things we need to do to get our new funnel up and running. We have to do the foundation, and then we have to create our landing page and our thank you page, and then we have to create our checkout and shopping, or checkout and shopping cart. They're the same thing. Then we have to create our sales page and our shopping cart. So those are huge undertakings, right? When I say foundation, there's a lot of research that goes into creating the customer avatar, figuring out the offer and the pricing tiers, or attract represents putting together a landing page, putting together the ad copy, putting together the email sequences if we decide to do that. And so you don't have to think about every little detail here. You just have to think about, oh, well, you know what? We're probably going to need to build a funnel, right? So, and in order to build a funnel, we have to do some research to make sure we know who the funnel is for. And then we have to put together a shopping cart and put together a membership area if that's part of it. So you just want to think of those really big things, and later on you can break them down into bite-sized pizzas. I'm hungry. Let's have some pizza, right? Pieces. And then, of course, we need to make some YouTube ads. So I just say we're going to make 5 ads for each one of 5 for our product and 1 for our service, right? And actually 1 for the product. The product's already been made. We just haven't been advertising it. So we should probably make some ads for that, but it's not necessarily a part of one of our big goals. So this is where you start to add those projects that aren't necessarily tied to your big goal, but they're just part of the day-to-day and continuing to make sure that your business runs. So moving on to the final one here, then we have our service. So we're creating a new service, so we need to go ahead and actually put together a process for onboarding new clients, making sure we give them the best work possible, and then of course offboarding. And so that's what those represent. So myself and my business partner Jesse, we're going to have to work on creating those processes and those systems from scratch over the next quarter to make sure that we have a product that is nice and streamlined, as opposed to, hey, we got a new client, now let's figure out how the heck to make them successful or happy, right? You want to make sure that you have a nice process of, we're going to do this, then we're going to do that, and especially when it comes to communication, because that's something that we definitely need to improve on. We're not going to do anything else with our membership sites. Will have launched 6 products by the end of this quarter, and I say launch pretty loosely because we've only actually promoted 2 of them on this channel. So the other 4, we literally have sales pages up that have no traffic going to them. But hey, at least we made, the goal was to just make the product. And that's another short-sighted thing where your goal is to make a product and then we had no time to actually promote it. So hopefully next year we'll be able to, although I digress. So that is our entire SWOT analysis process, all the way to making goals and then finally having a 20,000 foot view of what the projects are actually going to be. So the next step I go through after this is I actually start taking all this information and create a Gantt chart in Excel. You can just search a free Gantt chart template for Excel or Google Sheets, and there are lots of sites that give them to you for free. So that's what I use, and then I start planning out, okay, for example, CS number 1, you can see that they have quite a few tasks assigned to them. So I need to make sure that we don't accidentally give them 100 hours of work in 1 week, right? And so that comes into the more project management side of things that's not as fun as doing this. So obviously, when we do have a project manager, I'll be able to hand this to them and say, hey, so this is what we want to accomplish this quarter. Please go ahead and make sure that everybody has their tasks and they have enough time to complete them. So please go ahead, comment below with your questions, hit that like button if you're still watching. And it is a little disheartening. Well, of course, right as I was trying to sign off, the camera died. So until the next, you know what to do, hit that like button and keep building the business you love.